Okay, Sadie. We're happy to have you here today.
Thank you.
Happy and ready to be, having a conversation about some things that are going on. So, why don't you tell me a little bit about yourself?
So I am 21. I'm currently in college. I'm studying to be a doctor. Well, I don't know for sure, but I think I want to be a doctor or go in something within the medical field. Um, let's see. I also, I've just been kind of struggling lately with being a student. But and a lot of like emotional stuff, but yeah, it's just kind of tough for me right now.
Just kind of tough for you right now. But you're in college. You want to be a doctor.
Yes.
You want to help people.
Yes.
So that's all good things to know about you. What pronouns do you use?
She, her, hers.
She, her.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And then, is English your first language?
Yes.
Okay, cool. Now, do you go to school full time? Do you have a part-time job? Can you tell me a little bit about how you spend your time?
I just go to school full time right now. I'm not working anywhere. Just trying to focus on school as best as I can.
Okay. Are you married?
No.
No. Do you have any children?
Nope.
Nope. Can you tell me a little bit about your family of origin?
So both my parents are, still alive, but I wasn't really raised by them. I was more raised by my grandparents who recently passed away. And I also have 4 siblings. All of them are doing really well, pretty successful, and I have decent relationships with all of them.
Okay. All right. So your grandparents who did a lot of the care in your life recently passed.
Yes.
Was that hard for you?
Yeah, it was actually really hard. I think I went through kind of like a really really dark period there, and I'm still dealing with it with a lot of grief. But yeah, it was really hard for me just because they were kind of like my parents growing up.
Sure.
And my parents weren't really like my parents growing up, so it was really hard to kind of lose like the most important people to me.
Yeah. Well, while I can never begin to fully imagine what it is like to be you right now,
yeah,
I hope that, our conversations moving forward, we can help process and work through that together. But
yeah.
I am deeply sorry for your loss.
Thank you.
Yeah. So you said you're kind of having a hard time right now. What does a hard time look like to you? What does that mean?
Well, I'm just having like a lot of like ups and downs. So sometimes I'll have really bad days where it's really hard for me to even go to class or get up out of my bed. I just stay in bed most days. But sometimes I have days where I can like go, and I'm doing my homework and I'm cleaning the house, and I'm up for hours, and having kind of like periods of that, and each one will last few days here, a few days there. Sometimes I'll just be more of like regulated, but yeah, it's just kind of been like very up and down with my mood and with my like ability to like function.
Right. So it sounds like when you're really really high, you're elevated mood and being pretty productive, and when you're really really low, you're not going to class, and it sounds like that's making it hard to be a student.
Yeah, exactly.
Is that right? Yeah. How are your grades reflective of that?
Well, I'm trying, but a couple of them have slipped a little bit. I mean,
Sure.
I'm not failing any classes, but getting some C's here when I'm normally an A and B student, and on the brink of failing, trying to pull some of them back up, but I think I'll be okay. At least I hope so.
Sure. So it sounds like grades are really important to you. It sounds like getting into some kind of health profession is really important to you.
Yep.
But what do you want to accomplish out of these sessions?
Well, I really want to figure out a way to kind of deal with my moods. Just figuring out a way to kind of like balance them out, and then also kind of figuring out a way to maybe have better relationships with other people because I don't have very many friends because I think maybe my mood might play into it. I do have a boyfriend, but that's like my main source of support right now. And then I don't know. I mean, eventually I'd like to have a better relationship with my parents, but I don't know if that's possible. And then, of course, getting into school and, things like that. But I don't know if therapy can help me with getting into school, but I hope.
Well, I think we have a lot of really tough but important things that we can work on and grow in together. Yeah. It sounds like you want to process how you balance and how you handle different mood swings. It sounds like you want to process and better your relationship with your parents and with your peers. Yeah. And these are all things that I think that we can work through together and that we can grow in. So I think this is a good start. So some other things that I want to ask you just to get to know more about you. This might seem like a more lengthy process or might ask some uncomfortable questions. If you feel like we're crossing a line here, you can just let me know and we can move on to something else. I just wanted to let you know that if I ask you something you don't want to answer, we can just move on. Okay. Come back to it maybe later, maybe not come back to it. That's up to you. Yeah. So you talked about how your mood really affects your relationships and your grades and stuff. When did that start?
Probably in high school.
High school? Sure. Did you ever have any previous encounters with trying to cope or decrease these symptoms?
No, I don't think so. Not really any good coping skills. That's kind of another thing that I would like to improve upon is just learning ways to cope with the stress of, being a student and things like that.
Yeah. Yeah, a lot of people your age tend to feel that stress too. Yes, so that is something that I want you to know is a pretty normal feeling, but something that we can grow with. So are there any specific stressors besides school and family that you think are exacerbating symptoms? Anything you've noticed to make them worse?
A lot of financial stuff. It kind of ties into being a student, but just struggling with figuring out how to pay for stuff. I've been arguing with my parents a lot about it. I recently got into a car accident, and so, insurance has raised and things like that. My parents are pretty upset with me about it. So just learning how to maybe be more independent. That's like been a really, really big struggle, and the finances, mostly financially independent. Okay.
So you said that financial stress has caused or has been a trigger for these kind of stressors. Yeah. How often would you say you feel these kind of intense mood swings?
Honestly, I would say it's hard to put a number on it. Maybe something like a couple times a week, a couple days a week. I might be feeling off. I would say 3 to 4 days a week I might be feeling off, and I might have a couple good days or, a couple not so horrible days. Right. But yeah, I would say about 3 to 4 days out of the week I'm not feeling great.
Okay. Okay. This is all good to know. Thank you for sharing. Yeah. So you mentioned how your family interacts with you is really affects how you are. Yeah. In day-to-day life. Does anyone in your family have a history of mental health issues that you think are pertinent to what's going on in your life?
No, not really.
No. Okay. What would you say your family's attitude towards mental health or getting treatment is?
Well, whenever I've tried to talk to my parents about what I'm dealing with, it seems like they basically tell me that I'm just being too hormonal and being too dramatic, kind of make it seem like, because I'm a girl and I, have all these hormones, that it's kind of like that's basically the contributing factor, and I'm just being dramatic, and everybody my
Mhm.
age is going through what I'm going through.
Sure.
And some of it may be true, but I think that mine might be a little bit more intense. You know, a lot of people have stress related to school, but a lot of people don't experience the intense mood swings I experience.
Right. That sounds like it can be a lot, like it can be very stressful, and it sounds like it's hard to not have your parents really believe what's going on. So one thing that I would like to go back to is the death of your grandparents, the significant loss that you've had in your life. If it's okay to talk about with you, is that okay? So can you kind of describe to me when that happened in the past?
Yeah. So it's happened within the past year. I lost my grandparents, and for a while, I'd say a few months, it was really, really difficult. Like kind of like big periods where I couldn't really eat, I couldn't really sleep, or I felt like I was sleeping too much. Yeah, it was just really hard. I would think about them a lot, and sometimes I would have, nightmares about the situation, and just a lot of flashbacks because they were sick when they passed away. And so, yeah, it was just really hard.
Yeah, that sounds very hard to deal with a loss of someone so important to you.
Yeah.
In such a way. Would you say you kind of became a caretaker for them?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, because they were sick for a while.
Yeah. So you kind of had to, it sounds like very early on in your life, go from the role of caregiver or receiving care from them to giving care from them.
Yeah.
Can you talk about your experience with that a little bit, maybe?
Yeah, it was just a lot of stress, especially with balancing school and then having to worry about that. I had to take some time off school to take them to doctor's appointments and, take time off of school, when they got really sick and they were in the hospital or for their funeral or things like that, and just to grieve. So it really affected, my schooling, which was hard.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Well, it sounds like you love them a lot.
Yeah.
And so that's like a really powerful thing that you have in your life. It sounds like, is that kind of love, and we can grow and build off of that.
Yeah.
Just real quick, we can go back to that later. I just want to ask you a few questions about your history of substance use. Can you talk to me about if you have ever experienced that?
I just sometimes drink with my friends on the weekends, but nothing too serious. I've never been really into like the party scene or anything like that. I might just have a couple drinks.
Okay.
Sometimes, like once a month or something.
So you say that doesn't really affect your life too much?
No.
Okay. So a few other things that I wanted to talk to you about. Do you have any spiritual or religious influences in your life that kind of strongly view how you see the world?
Well, I am Christian, which sometimes, I guess can be helpful, just in staying positive, but I know that there's also a lot of shame that comes with that. When I was in high school, I was hospitalized for some suicidal attempts, and so there's a lot of shame in that when it comes to Christianity. So that was kind of hard because I'm like a big part of my church.
Sure.
So that was a little bit difficult.
Right. Do you mind talking for a few seconds about that suicide history?
Yeah. So
Explain more about that.
Both times I took some pills. And it was just basically when I was at my lowest points in my life. I'm not really having the thoughts anymore, but I know that they can always come back just because of my history of it. So, yeah, it was in high school, so it was a few years ago.
And you would say that you haven't had thoughts of it since high school? Is that what you said?
No, not too much.
Okay. Can you kind of describe a little bit more around the circumstances that led you to feel that you were at your lowest low?
Well, kind of school pressure again. And just lack of friendships, lack of social support, lack of familial support, things like that.
Mm-hmm. Alrighty, well, I think I have a lot of really good information about you and your past. I think we have a lot of areas that you said you wanted to grow in. You said you wanted to grow in school and familial relationships and friendship relationships, and that you said that you have a lot of protective things in your life, such as the love that you have for your family and that you want to grow with them. And it also sounds like you have a strong connection with your spirituality and religion. So I think these are all hopeful areas that say that there's a lot of good ways that we can improve on.
Yeah.
And unless you have anything else to add, I hope that we can meet next week sometime.
Yeah.
To schedule our first more in-depth session together. Does that sound like a good idea?
Perfect.
Awesome. Thank you for coming in.
Thank you.
Hi. Do you feel understood by me?
I did feel very understood by you because I feel like you repeated a lot of stuff back to me, and that really helped me know that you were listening and know that you were paying attention and that you were being very empathetic.
Yeah, I tried to repeat some of your same words too, using the lowest of lows and stuff like that. Yeah. So I try to do that too.
Yeah.
Sorry, we're reading the questions right now. Do you think my voice and expression reflectively understood you in your moment of expressing?
Yeah, I think so. I think that you did a really good job with the voice fluctuation instead of just saying oh, that must be really hard.
Right.
You did a lot of no, that's totally understandable.
Right.
Kind of like I was talking to almost like a friend, in a good way. It was still professional, but in a good way.
Coolio. Do you have anything else to add?
Nope, you did a good job.
Oh, thanks. Okay.